welcome to the Document Management for Accounts Payable webinar. This is the second in a series of educational webinars hosted by ACOM Solutions. Our first was held last month, and it dealt with document management fundamentals. It was entitled Document Management, What's in it for You? In that webinar, we covered some of the basic technologies and techniques that document management is being used for today. In this morning's webinar, we'll be covering document management as applied to accounts payable, and next month, our third in the series will be document management for accounts receivable. In today's webinar, we'll cover 4 areas. The first will be a quick refresher of last month's webinar, and that is just a couple of moments on some of the document management fundamentals. We'll then explore the accounts payable processing characteristics, specifically what are the documents and the document flow that are germane to the accounts payable process. And then in the third section, we'll put the two together, and we will discuss how document management is currently being used to help optimize the accounts payable process. And then finally, we have some information on selection strategies when looking for a document management solution. The good news is there is a wealth of solutions out there, and almost assuredly there's one to fit your needs. Well, let's start with a basic definition of document management. We've all heard a lot of terminology regarding document management, content management, imaging, archiving, all referring to the group of technologies that we commonly call document management. In its simplest form, we view document management as the technologies, tools, and processes used to capture, manage, store, and deliver documents across an enterprise. Basically, document management is much more than just scanning and capturing copies of documents such as AP checks. There's so much more that can be accomplished to optimize the entire process, and we're going to explore this in more detail today. Well, let's start with the different document management document types, and here we're dealing with these document types from a generic standpoint. The first type is text-based documents. These are typically author-generated documents, manually created. Examples of these would be letters, correspondence, inquiries, emails, etc. Second type is what we call data documents, and these are typically system-generated documents which are typically processed in high volume or in batch mode. Examples of these would be accounts payable checks and purchase orders. And then the third type of document is the image document, and these are typically paper documents or faxes. An example would be an inbound invoice that's either mailed or faxed in. When you look at the 3 document types, it's also important to look at them from a base technology standpoint. And here we ask ourselves 2 basic questions, and that is, from a document management technology perspective, the question is, what is the primary content, meaning text, data, or image? What do you want to put into your document management system? What's the content? Okay. Second question is, what is the business process? Meaning, once you have the documents or the content in your system, what do you want to do with it? And let's take a look at this. You have unstructured documents, which are basically your text-based documents. These are documents, again, manually created, subject to changes and revisions. They're oftentimes checked in, checked out. Document management systems that have library services come into play here. Second type are the document imaging or the image documents. This is where documents get scanned. They're often inbound documents like invoices or advanced ship notices. Even paper-based documents that need to be signed and scanned are representative of this. An example of that would be a signed receipt of goods where you want a copy of the original document with signature would fall into this category. Typically, these types of documents are not changed. These are documents that you want archived, captured, and indexed. And then finally, we have cold or report management system-generated documents. These are cold. The acronym stands for computer output to laser disk. It's an older term, but it generally refers to these system-generated documents that are processed automatically. Think of outbound documents in this case. They could be electronic or laser. These are typically documents like accounts payable checks or perhaps a batch of purchase orders. Okay. When you look at these different document types from both a content and from a technology standpoint, you then ask yourself, what are the benefits of using document management systems? Well, in a general sense, it boils down to managing documents electronically is simply more efficient and more cost effective. The reason is that paper is eliminated, process automation is introduced. Okay. Secondly, from a customer service standpoint, inquiries can be handled more efficiently. Callbacks are eliminated, improved service to customers and vendors is made possible. If you think about the ability to handle a vendor inquiry by electronically searching for an image of a check and emailing a copy of that to confirm the payment was made, that would be an example of how this is used in that category. Contrast that with the manual process of retrieving a paper copy of a payment or an invoice and then having to send it in the mail or distributing it via a fax machine. The processes really support customer service applications. And then finally, in the area of risk reduction, document management systems offer tighter security and audit trails. This helps with better compliance for Sarbanes-Oxley, HIPAA, etc. And you have the disaster recovery or business continuity capabilities been built in where documents can be backed up on media and stored off-site. Well, given that, let's take a look at the actual accounts payable process, and let's take a look at the documents and the document flow that's involved in a typical organization. What I will show here is a summary view of the documents and document flow. In your specific organization, you may have additional documents such as acknowledgments, but I think this will give you a high-level view of the typical documents, their sequence, and their flow. Okay. In most cases, we start with the creation and issuance of a purchase order. This is typically an outbound document. Okay. That is followed by an inbound advance ship notice. Purchase orders are typically sent to some vendor or supplier. Once received, that vendor supplier is then going to send us an advance ship notice. Following the advance ship notice, we'll typically get some type of invoice sent in the mail or electronically from that vendor following the shipment of the goods being purchased. Once those goods are received, in many cases there's an internal document which would be a receipt of goods that verifies that the merchandise or goods purchased were actually received. As an internal document, this is often paper-based. It oftentimes must be signed. And then finally, the last step in this accounts payable process would actually be the issuance of the accounts payable check. Now, along the way, these documents typically get reconciled so that prior to an accounts payable check being approved and issued, someone is going to verify that the payment amount matches the original purchase order, matches the invoice, matches the receipt of goods, so that if 10 notebook PCs were part of the original purchase order and an advance ship notice indicated that 9 were being shipped and your receipt of goods denotes that 9 were received, you should have an invoice for 9 notebook PCs at the agreed upon price and terms. Based on that information, the reconciliation of that information, then the accounts payable payment or accounts payable check can be approved and issued, and that is an outbound document. Okay. When we look at that, there's 3 elements of the accounts payable process that deal with the document generation, or more commonly, think of these documents that we just covered. At some point, those documents have to be created and they have to be distributed or exchanged. Okay. Secondly, once those documents are distributed or exchanged, okay, the receiving party must capture them so that the people who need to be involved and who need access to those documents can work on them. If you think about the receipt of an invoice or advance ship notice, someone's going to receive that, review it, and match it and compare it to the original purchase order. So those documents need to be available to those who need to see them. In many cases, this could even be different locations. Okay? And then finally, the third element of this is that decisions have to be made regarding the management of those documents. And here, for example, what we're referring to is our invoice is going to be paid. Our invoice is going to be paid in full. What if there's insufficient documentation to approve an invoice? What happens then? Who gets notified? Okay, what are the next steps? Now, we'll go into these in more detail and take a look at each one. Okay. The first one is a document generation and exchange. And as you've seen from the previous slide, these are basic documents that need to be sent and received in the accounts payable process. We deal with inbound and outbound documents. Inbound documents are externally generated documents. These, in most cases, are paper. They typically must be shared. Examples would be inbound invoices or inbound advance ship notices. Often these documents are photocopied, filed, with additional copies being kept. Internal documents are typically system generated, and in this case, think of outbound purchase orders, outbound accounts payable checks. They are typically processed in batches, system generated, often in high volumes. Okay. Once documents are exchanged, when you look at then the second phase, which is the actual document management and sharing of those documents, this is the area where those documents are captured and shared. Oftentimes it involves photocopying and filing. Often it involves sending copies to home offices or branches. And the key here is that people need to have access to these documents in order to perform their assigned functions. Could be payment approval, invoice routing, or things like reconciling purchase orders with invoices. Okay. And then finally, you actually get down to the payment processing itself. And this is where document-based decision processes come into place. Once you've got information captured and shared with the stakeholders, you have decisions that need to be made, like approvals, okay, and forwarding. Files need to be matched so that original purchase orders, advance ship notices, invoices, receipt of goods, all can be matched prior to a decision being made to approve an accounts payable. Okay. These decisions can and should be made or supported by having timely access to complete and full information. Well, given this, the challenges that we face is that these processes are labor-intensive, many manual steps involved. There's lots of paper. The process oftentimes is slow. You often have misfiled documents or lost documents, particularly when you're dealing with copies in multiple locations. Dealing with vendor satisfaction, it's not uncommon to receive inquiries about whether or not an invoice was paid or whether or not a check was issued. The process of doing the research and verifying and sending copies can be slow and laborious. You also have limited process auditing and tracking, and you have security and compliance risks because the process is not tracked electronically and you don't have good controls. Okay. And final areas in terms of business continuity risks, organizations with lots of paper without backup, should those paper invoices, payables, checks, purchase orders, et cetera, be lost in a flood or fire, the risk to the business could be considerable. Well, given that, and given the limitations, and now that we know that document management can be applied to this accounts payable process, what are the opportunities that would cause one to look at document management? Well, to start with, capturing documents electronically presents a huge opportunity. We are able now, with the current capture technology that's out there, to capture all types of documents: paper documents, fax documents, system-generated documents, electronic documents that might be on your network. This could be emails, Word documents, correspondence, even things like generating EDI document facsimiles. For anyone involved in EDI, with the exchange of information, it's often helpful to have a human-readable format captured electronically that could be retrieved and researched. Okay. Once those documents are captured electronically, then from a management standpoint, you have the ability to securely store, retrieve, share, and distribute those documents. Based on user privileges and user rights, you can have multiple layers of security to make that information available to those who need to see them regardless of location. And particularly with web-based systems, such as what ACOM offers with its Easy Content Manager, is any authorized user with web access can get access to the documents that they're authorized to see, and they can take action on those documents to the extent that their permissions have been granted. We also have the ability to back those documents up electronically for disaster recovery and business continuity purposes. And then finally, from a workflow standpoint, we're able to make decisions and take action on documents in electronic format. In the accounts payable process, common applications here would be document routing and approval. Think about a purchase order, routing and approval that could be moved through the layers of approval in your organization electronically as opposed to inter-office mail. You can think about the capabilities of doing task notification electronically, sending messages or emails to an individual saying you have documents or files that require your attention. It's a much more efficient process. Gives you the ability to reroute those when someone's out of the office or on vacation. And, of course, you have auditing and tracking available throughout the process. Well, when we go back to the capturing documents electronically, we're dealing with different document types that we want to capture and import into our document management system or into the repository. The good news is that this process has become much more efficient and you can perform additional critical business functions at the same time. Basically, your capture layer can and should do much more than just capturing and indexing documents. Let's take a look at some examples. In this case, what we're seeing here is the different document types that we want to put into a repository. Any paper-based documents or fax documents can certainly be scanned and indexed. Any system-generated documents should be automatically captured and indexed. And tools exist to convert pre-printed documents to electronic templates with mapping. And here what we're talking about, if you look at the blue ERP accounting software image, Easy Content Manager works with all accounting systems that are out there, and we have the ability at the capture layer to take any outbound document or any system-generated document, create an electronic template, map the data from your system onto that template so that you have a true digital document, and from there you have the ability to distribute that document to the recipient. In the accounts payable process, that might be your vendors or suppliers, and you can present that document to them via the mail, via hard copy with laser printing. They can be faxed through an automated fax system. They can be emailed. They can be emailed with a secure PDF attachment. They can be posted to the web. And this is all in addition to capturing an electronic image and indexing that automatically. So the process becomes hands-off, the process becomes automatic, and you have the ability to really do so much more than just capturing the document. Okay. And then finally, on the lower left-hand portion of the screen, there are a number of documents on your network and individual PCs that you may want to have captured in this process. It could be letters, emails from customers, Word documents from customers, making inquiries about payments or invoices and so forth, or disputes. Any of that information that's on the network can easily be captured, indexed, and imported into the system. Okay. As I mentioned, with current technology, we have a number of ways of capturing different document types. One of the benefits is that with scanned documents, in most cases, no software is required. Our system is compatible with any scanner. We can accept TIFF, PDF, or JPEG files from any scanner. We can use automatic indexing using the file name. We have the ability to index via the WebTop tool, thus avoiding the need to buy expensive OCR and scanning software. With our capture layer products, which is known as Easy eDocs and Easy Pay Manager, those are the capture layer modules that will not only automatically capture and index documents, but they can do so much more, as I just discussed. And we'll go into that in a little more detail, particularly with accounts payable checks. But the key here is look for capture layer solutions that do more than just capture. Think about the document creation and generation. Think about the document exchange or distribution. That important capability should be part of the capture layer solution that then feeds your document management system. Our automated import utility has an automated batch upload option. This is an unattended operation. It will also automatically or dynamically build folders based on index values. We have a manual import capability via our web top, and we also have an optional Easy Imager module that will allow you to create zonal templates to automatically index documents, OCR, ICR, with barcode for importing into the system. Okay. In the capture layer, you'll hear the expression image is everything. This is an example of a system-generated document. This is a purchase order, and on the left-hand side in blue is typically what that looks like when it's coming out of an ERP package or out of an accounting system. It typically, oftentimes, is simply printed on pre-printed forms or continuous paper. With our capture layer solutions, we have the ability to design a template and then map the data from your system without any custom programming on your part, map the data to the template, so what you have is a professionally sharp-looking document on the right-hand side that is now a digital document. From this format, this capture layer solution can then perform several functions. You can laser print, email, fax, post to the web. It will also, you have the ability to condition this document so that we can auto-capture and auto-index this document without any additional steps. This is a very powerful capability of the newer capture layer solutions. As I mentioned before, once those documents have been created or generated, the exchange or distribution gives you quite a bit of flexibility. You have the ability with either documents or payments. It could be purchase orders or it could be accounts payable checks, where you have the ability to laser print locally or remotely. You have the ability to email or email with a secure PDF. You've got the ability to run through an automated fax machine. And we have a direct integration with Easy Content Manager, our web-based document management tool, to capture these documents, index these documents, and have them imported into the appropriate folder. Okay. Now, on the document management side, once the documents have been captured and indexed and are sitting in the repository, okay, the system can give people access from a home, office, or traveling, provided that they are authorized for that capability. Access can be given to authorized employees, authorized vendors, or customers, however you want to set it up. Okay. If we look at the accounts payable check document again, let's take a look at how we can improve the management of that accounts payable check, and I'll get into more detail in just a moment. Other capabilities in this area lie with security. You can apply multiple layers of security with a document management system down to the document level, and you can specify the type of control over who sees what, who can perform what functions. Example would be you may give one user a view-only function. You may give another user the ability to not only view, but to distribute, to edit, etc. You have total control over the system, and the multiple layers of security give you control that you wouldn't have in a paper-based system. And then finally, backup and recovery are improved on secure media. You can securely store your documents, copy them, store them off-site, and you can do additional things like records management. You can specify and define a particular document, how long it's kept, where it's moved, whether or not it should be destroyed, at what point it's destroyed. So a good document management system should give you some general capabilities in these areas to give you total control over the management of your documents. Okay. As I mentioned before, we thought we'll take a look at a business process using the accounts payable check. In this case, we're using the example of a system-generated accounts payable check. This would be an example of a cold technology or system-generated document. In this case, there is no reason that that document cannot be created, distributed, captured, and indexed automatically using today's current technology in a hands-off mode. Okay. Let's take a look at the options that you have available today. Okay. First, as we mentioned, you can create or have an electronic template created, which thereby eliminates the need for pre-printed checks. By creating electronic templates, you've got literally an electronic secure check. You map the data from your ERP or accounting system, and you have the ability to process multiple check types, high volume, any volume you want for that matter, and process and distribute those checks. One of the big movements in the accounts payable world right now is the movement of organizations to get their vendors to migrate from the receipt of paper-based checks to receiving electronic payments through the ACH network. The reason this is happening is because of the costs and security. The cost savings are significant. To give you some figures from the NACHA organization, the National Automated Clearinghouse Association, the average cost to process a paper-based check is anywhere from $1.50 to $2 per check. If you move to an ACH transaction with electronic remittance, that cost drops to less than 15 cents. So the cost savings is significant. On top of that, the security controls you have by issuing electronic payments far exceed having paper-based checks out in the mail where multiple people can get their hands on it. So there's a strong movement there. The challenges, however, in doing it is that it's not easy to get vendors to agree to accept electronic payments. We'll talk about that in a moment. But the main thing to remember here is that as part of a capture layer solutions and as part of that strategy of have your capture layer do much more than capture an index, this is an example of it should be able to handle not only paper-based checks, but also handle ACH checks with electronic remittance and give you some tools to help your vendors migrate to electronic payments. This same concept applies to purchase orders. There's no reason at all with the capture layer solution, in our case, Easy eDocs or Easy Pay Manager, that purchase orders can be designed, mapped, and distributed both paper-based and electronically to further reduce costs and give you more control. Well, let's take a look at the adoption of vendors to electronic payments. One of the biggest challenges is that it's an educational process to convince vendors that it makes sense to accept an electronic payment. Although the benefits are obvious, more accurate views of when funds are going to be received, better cash management, better predictability, in some cases better terms, vendors oftentimes are reluctant simply because they just don't understand the benefits. And what we've found and what we see in the marketplace is that what organizations want are some online tools to automate that process, the process of reaching out to your vendors saying, there's some great benefits for you if you'll accept an electronic payment. Here's why it's important to you. Here's how you can benefit. And by the way, here's what you need to do to sign up with me. And we do this with a series of web and PC-based tools where the outreach, what we call the vendor outreach program, is automatic. An example of that is when we issue a payment, we can also simultaneously send an email stating that, by the way, your payment has been sent, and if you'd like this payment can be made electronically in the future, please go to, and this would be a designated URL, could be go to acom.com in our case, and go to this link and take a look at why you should sign up, and then we have a self-registration module that allows vendors to sign up and maintain their own registration. This is a big benefit. It really helps organizations increase the vendor adoption to electronic payments, thereby providing significant cost savings and security benefits. Okay. And then finally, when you do that, we're also, as we mentioned, keeping a copy, an electronic copy of that payments and remittance advice in the document management system. This allows you to go back if you get vendor inquiries or you have people that need to see these documents or you want to review the purchase order, invoice, receipt of goods, etc. with the accounts payable check. All the documents that have been imported can be linked in the document management system. Now, the way this works, what ties this all together is the integration of our capture layer solutions with our content management system or our document management system. That technology has been integrated, so by using our capture layer solutions, you'll have the ability to create and distribute documents electronically or paper-based. At the same time, those documents can be captured and indexed, and you have full integration so that those documents are imported into content management. They're in the file they need to be in, and they're indexed. That integration is the key to our system. Okay. Once documents are in the system, they can be easily managed by having them organized into folders and subfolders any way you want. An example would be setting up folders and subfolders by vendors, and our Easy Content Manager provides a very easy interface for searching and retrieving those documents when needed. Documents can be imported as PDFs. As I mentioned, organized into folders and subfolders, you can control the structure of the directory. Easy Content Manager is a web-based tool, as you can see, so using simple Google-like searches, it's very easy to, in the search box, put in a vendor name, an invoice number, for example. We also have advanced search features where you can search on indices or metadata, and in this case, you've got quite a bit of flexibility where you may want to search on a vendor name with a date range, or you may want to look for an invoice number and a date. There's a variety of indices that can be used to find data quickly and easily. And for your users, if they know how to use Google, they'll know how to use Easy Content Manager. It's a very simple system to use. Okay. The final area deals with, after managing documents, is the workflow. And here in the accounts payable process, there's a number of discrete processes that just lend themselves to workflow applications. If you think about the routing of a purchase order, the approval of a purchase order, that's one that lends itself naturally. Invoice approval is another one. Purchase order requests. These are processes where electronic documents can be submitted into a workflow process. They can be routed automatically to the key stakeholders that need to review and or approve. Okay. Along the way, we build in capabilities that allows you to provide notification via email or messages so that a manager, for example, may get an email that says you have a folder or some documents that require your attention. And it just automates that process. Okay. Here's an example of some workflows that have been set up. In this case, you've got the ability to name the workflow. It might be purchase order approval, invoice order approval. You can define the documents that are going to be submitted to this process. You can assign a monitor and identify how that monitor will be notified. You can identify particular participants in the process, and this allows you to identify each person, the steps involved, the document types, the user, how that user is going to be notified. We provide a very simple-to-use GUI interface that allows you to basically chart out the process and where documents go. It's a flow chart, if you will. Very simple to use. We can help you set that up, or you can do it yourself. Okay. So to recap, document management systems should help you on the capture layer and provide more than just document capture and document indexing. It should give you a broad base of tools and capabilities to help you manage documents when they're in there. Is it easy to search and retrieve documents? Does it give you good organization on how documents are stored? Does it give you a layer of security? Do you have basic record management capabilities? Are there basic library services, check in, check out, so that documents can be managed? And as you'll see in a moment, can we get this functionality without costing a fortune? Well, if we do these things, the benefits of implementing these systems is that we end up with fewer manual processes. All accounts payable related documents can be captured and indexed for easy retrieval. They can be linked and filed by folder and subfolder. An example here is using the accounts payable example. Two situations. One is you may get a simple vendor inquiry and you need to retrieve an invoice or an accounts payable check and verify to the vendor that an invoice was paid or an accounts payable check was issued. With this type of tool, it's very simple to do a simple search, pull up a copy of an invoice, pull up a copy of an accounts payable check, and then email it directly while you're on the phone. There's no manual steps involved. There's no calling back, and can be done on the fly. Another area is with your auditors. Oftentimes during an audit, you'll be asked to provide complete documentation for a series of accounts payable checks, and the auditors may want to see the purchase order, the invoice, the receipt of goods, etc. And with document management, it now makes it much easier to not only import all the relevant and supporting documents into a repository, but to electronically link those documents. So when those auditors come in, rather than going through file cabinets to find the documents, or perhaps in some cases you may have to go off-site to pull older documents, if you have those documents stored electronically and they're linked, you could pull up the accounts payable check and then right there have all the associated documentation linked to it. Might save you some money on the year-end audit costs. Further benefits, your people will be more productive. You've got lower costs. It's just simply easier and more efficient to store and retrieve and manage documents electronically than it is via paper. You've got benefits in the area of vendor satisfaction, and this has to do with the ability to get vendors to accept electronic payments and remittance. There's certain documents you can make available to them should you choose. And this will help in terms of lowering costs. And then finally, you increase security with multiple layers of security that's built into the system, and you have the ability of backup and recovery. Okay. We've seen that there's a growing interest in document management to properly manage the different types of, from a technology standpoint, the different types of documents that are germane to the accounts payable process, and these are text-based documents, which would be your manually created, author-generated documents, scanned documents, which are your image documents. These would be your classic paper, inbound paper, or fax documents. And then finally, system-generated documents. These are your cold documents, and these would be, think of these as your outbound purchase order and accounts payable documents. Accounts payable processing is an ideal document management application because of what we've reviewed to improve productivity, to lower costs, and to reduce risks. And when we look at this, when looking for a successful solution that fits your organization, you may want to look at a couple of different areas. One is, will the system have the ability to capture a full range of document types discussed? Because the accounts payable process really covers, from a technology standpoint, all types of documents. So having the ability to capture those and capture those efficiently is going to be key. If those capture layers can also give you a lot more functionality than just capturing and indexing, such as we've seen, which would be the electronic distribution, additional areas such as helping vendors migrate from accepting paper-based payments to electronic payments, that will really help with the ROI of these systems. And then finally, does it offer some process workflow technology to take simple processes like document routing and approval, purchase order approval, invoice approval? Are those capabilities built in where they can be set up in a simple basis and used effectively? When looking for a system, look for an integrated document management system. Today, people are looking not just for the ability to store documents electronically, but they're looking more at the document lifecycle. Where are documents created and generated? How are they exchanged? Where do they need to go? What happens in the interim? Where do file copies go? Are file copies often retrieved? If so, when? By whom? Where are they located? How is that done? A good integrated document management system will address all of those layers. It'll help you transition outbound paper-based documents to electronic documents that give you so much more flexibility in distribution, archival, retrieval, etc. Okay. Integrated document management will help you there. As we said, look for robust capture layer solutions that do more. Look for capture layer solutions that will help you transition to electronic payments, electronic documents. No reason at all why you can't issue electronic purchase orders and electronic payments, provided you have the tools that will help you with that migration. And then having a vendor that understands the accounts payable process. When you're looking at solutions out there, you may want to question the vendor. What is their experience in the accounts payable world? What kind of customer base do they have? What's their experience just and knowledge of the accounts payable process in general for the sales staff, the support staff, the professional services team? All important qualifications to help you have a successful implementation. And then finally, look at the specific accounts payable business processes. Are there things such as purchase order generation and distribution that could be automated? Are there areas like purchase order approval that might lend itself nicely to a simple yet effective routing and approval workflow? Will the solution help you address the area of vendor adoption of ACH payments? As we mentioned, there's a big movement in the market for organizations to get their vendors to accept electronic payments for the obvious cost savings and securities. But to do so is not easy, and it takes some sophisticated tools to help with that adoption. ACOM is an example of a company that's been doing this and understands that process very well. We've gone through this internally where we use these tools ourselves to get our vendors switched over to electronic payments. And then finally, what security layers are offered to help you keep control and have the audit and tracking that you need for your document processes in accounts payable. Well, that ends the formal portion of this webinar. We have contact information up on the screen right now, and we'll get to the questions and answers. As you can see, on August 22nd, there will be a third webinar. This deals with how document management is being applied to the accounts receivables process, and that will be at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific on August 22nd, also hosted by ACOM.com. All you need to do is go to the ACOM.com website, look in the upper right-hand corner, and you'll see webinar series. Just click on that, and you'll see these posted if you'd like to register. Our contact information is up on the screen. If you have questions on this webinar today, we're more than happy to answer them for you. Please, we welcome your phone calls or emails. We also have a wealth of information on our website if you so choose to go there, and we invite you to take a look. In terms of some of the questions, we have a few. One of the first question we have here is one that is a good one that we get frequently, and that is, what type of price range do these document management systems start at, particularly for accounts payable departments? Very good question. There is truthfully a wide range of pricing. On the high end, you'll find systems out there that are $250,000 to $500,000. On the low end, there's less expensive systems. Typically, for mid-sized companies or for departmental applications, which is really what an accounts payable process represents, is that I'll use ACOM as an example. Our basic system for the Easy Content Manager, which gives you the basic capture layer solution to import documents, okay, not talking about Easy Docs and Easy Pay Manager, but a basic 5-user system starts at software pricing of just under $10,000, implementation services of under $5,000. So for roughly $15,000, you can easily get into a basic system that gives you a lot of the capabilities that we discussed. The ACOM solution is modularized and scalable. So based on your requirements, should you want to get into some of the more sophisticated capture layer solutions for document creation, distribution, vendor migration to electronic payments, it's a series of modules. You can pick and choose for those that make sense to you, and we'll be happy to provide more detailed information if anyone would like that. Okay. Second question. We were hoping to see more of the actual live product. Did you intend to show this? Great question. Thank you for asking that. Actually, we did not. And the reason for it is our goal with these webinars was to keep them more on an educational basis, talking about document management in general, in this case, accounts payable, and how document management is used in the accounts payable process. Excuse me, meaning what's possible with document management, what are organizations doing with it, as opposed to getting into a detailed ACOM sales presentation. I will say that if anyone would like to see a demonstration or would like more, a closer technical look at our solutions or technology, we'll be more than happy to show it to you. Simply shoot us an email or give us a phone call, and we'll be more than happy to arrange that. Okay. Here's a third question. Can you work with existing systems? Good question. Yes, on a couple of levels. One is Easy Content Manager is a web-based solution. As such, we work with and interface with systems, using Windows servers, also with the System I or iSeries platform, for which we have a very large customer base, so we can work with pretty much any system. The other aspect of your question that you may be referring to is there are many organizations out there that somewhere in their corporation organization have already purchased some type of document management or content management system. Do any of our modules successfully interface with incumbent or existing systems? And the answer is yes. Our capture layer solutions, Easy eDocs and Easy Pay Manager, have an ECM interface module that allows them to interface with existing systems that are out there. The requirements are if your system can accept the PDF document, and in terms of the metadata or the indices, we create an INI formatted text file. So if your system can handle an INI formatted text file that has the indices and a PDF format, then there's a very good chance that we can interface with your existing system. So the opportunity is there to take advantage of more robust capture layer solutions that can either be fully integrated with ACOM or in many cases integrated with the systems that you have. Well, let me thank everybody again for your time today. We appreciate it. We hope you found this informative, and we invite you to contact us for further information on how document management technology can be used for the accounts payable process. Thank you for your time today. Bye now.